This video explains the 5 key strategies to provide wildfire resistance to your house.
Hi, I'm Daniel of Daniel Clark Architect. This video is going to be of most interest to those considering a renovation and those who might be living anywhere in the vicinity of a forest. There's something called the Wildland Urban Interface, WUI or WUI, and I'm going to discuss 5 key strategies anyone in the WUI can take to prevent their home from being lost to a wildfire. We all realize that heat waves are getting more extreme. The Government of Canada had a study of air temperatures and discovered that over the past 70 years, the average annual temperature has gone up 2 degrees Celsius. In the last 20 years, just half a degree. As the temperatures get warmer, that warmer air holds more moisture, dries out the vegetation, the forests, and every year a forest fire becomes more likely, and if one does happen, that fire is going to become more vicious. A lot of people have moved out of the cities, out to places like Maple Ridge, Gibsons, Parksville, elsewhere on Vancouver Island, or even Salt Spring Island, one of these far out areas, quiet, serene, surrounded by nature, but people living in those communities are at exceptionally high risk. The reasons are twofold. First is all of that vegetation around them, all of that forest. Second, because they're in more remote communities, smaller communities, the firefighting service there is less capable of managing a much larger fire. There are a number of regions in the province which have regularly been subject to evacuation orders and threatened by fires on their doorstep. Regions such as around Prince George, Kelowna, Kamloops, these are all high-risk areas. In Colorado, and especially throughout the middle section of California, thousands of homes have been lost to forest fires, not because these houses were out in the bush, out surrounded by forest, but were anywhere near that wildland urban interface. See, the way that the fire progresses, the embers, they will travel ahead of the fire and land in a suburb on a pile of wood or other debris in someone's backyard, a pile of overgrown grass, and that conflagration then ignites the house. It's not just a matter of fire traveling from tree to tree. That may or may not happen, but the embers themselves are the biggest troublemakers. So if a wildfire or the embers reach your house and a fire does ignite, what's going to happen to your house? Chances are it's going to burn down. The vast majority of houses are not equipped, not designed, not built to resist wildfires. If you do lose your house in a wildfire, a lot of the communities are finding that the insurance companies are not going to cover the cost of reconstruction. So are you going to be able to afford to rebuild in the future? Well, the construction costs have been accelerating. In the past year, inflation in BC is over 8%. So whatever little bit you can do now to protect your investment, your home, whether or not you're renovating, is going to be a very sound investment. A lot of people, homeowners and architects alike, whom I ask, if you're going to face a wildfire, what's your strategy? The answer is usually garden hose, maybe a roof sprinkler. The town of Logan Lake, they did have a forest fire approach them, and roof sprinklers can be effective. There is a program called FireSmart, promoted by both Canada and by BC, that does not discourage roof sprinklers. However, there are a few keys you need to know about the roof sprinklers. First, you need adequate water supply. The sprinklers need to be positioned and sized appropriately. The water supply, the water pressure must be available when the fire is approaching. And third, if your water supply is not from a municipal source, but rather from a well, your pump is going to have to be protected from fire also. Really, your best strategy is passive fire protection, something that does not require an active input. So I'm going to preface this. I am not a fire engineer. Fire is not predictable. Neither I nor any fire researcher can give you any guarantee that your house is not going to burn down if a fire or embers reach it. What I am drawing upon is research and testing and past projects built to the BC Building Code, the Vancouver Building Bylaw, Canadian building codes for apartment buildings. The construction requirements for these buildings is much higher. There is very sound building science strategy, fire fire studies to back up the construction, and I'm going to present these to you in the context of a single-family house. There's no reason that these multi-family buildings construction methods can't be used for a single-family home, and therefore increase the likelihood of your house resisting fire. Retired U.S. Forest Service research scientist named Jack Cohen, he said, if a house doesn't ignite, it's not going to burn. And that's really the key here. What is the ignition point? Well, we're going to take out all of the common ignition points. We don't have to make your house out of concrete to make it robust, but just prevent that initial burn that gets it going. First, the first 5 feet or 1.5 meters around your house to have no combustible elements. No bushes, no trees, no grass if possible. What I recommend are unit pavers. You have the option of putting gravel, but pavers are also much more easy to sweep. You will have branches, twigs, and leaves accumulate around the house, and you want to clean those out on a regular basis. Number 2 key is non-combustible finishes for your roof and for your walls that are non-flammable. Metal, brick, Oco skin, or other concrete panel materials, or even hardy siding, hardy panels. These non-combustible materials generally will not burn. A metal roof, standing seam metal roof, metal shakes, metal shingles, concrete tiles, terracotta tiles, or even slate tiles. If the embers land on your roof, they simply will not burn. Material that was common in Japan to resist the spread of fire from building to building is called Shaosugiban. I've probably butchered the pronunciation, but essentially it's a pre-charred wood, and it was a specific wood, but you can apply this to a number of other wood types, and it's a charred look so that it prevents the ready ignition. It will still technically burn if there's enough heat, but it does not burn as readily as, let's say, cedar, shakes, or shingles. Number 3 key. So even if you do have a non-combustible finish, if there's enough heat transmitted through to the plywood sheathing, enough to raise the temperature that the wood behind spontaneously combusts. It ignites and sets off the whole house. So what you want is a non-combustible thermal barrier, Roxul, or rock wool, or even an exterior grade gypsum support sheathing also will prevent a barrier to heat igniting the wood construction within. Number 4 key is to protect all the openings in through the house, the attic openings, the attic vents, the ridge vents, the roof vents, vents into the crawl space, the exhaust from your dryer, exhaust from your laundry, from the bathrooms. You want to have metal mesh, not fiberglass, not plastic, with openings of maximum 3 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. This will prevent, again, the embers from flying into those voids and setting a fire inside your attic space or underneath your building. And the last key I'm going to recommend here is adding swing style shutters. Nothing fancy, you can get prefabricated or have something custom. Again, a non-combustible finish and a thermal barrier in behind there. The windows, even if you were to have a concrete house, once the windows are exposed to that heat gradient, hot, hot, hot outside and not as hot inside, they very much can shatter, especially if it's single pane glass. Double glazing, a little less so, triple glazing far less. But if you have a thermal barrier in front of those to protect the window glass itself from the heat, then the more likely you're going to prevent the fire from getting inside of the house and setting the contents on fire. Fire is not predictable. No one else can guarantee you that these techniques, once applied, will guarantee your house to be safe from a fire. However, you will be far, far in better shape, and these are not terribly expensive, but far, far less expensive than having to rebuild an entire house if you were to lose it. So in summary, the 5 key techniques to preventing wildfire from destroying your house: use paver stones for the first 5 feet around your house. Install non-combustible finishes for your roof and walls. Install a non-combustible thermal barrier behind the exterior finishes. Protect all concealed spaces and openings into the roof, through the walls, and into any crawl spaces. Add shutters to all exterior windows and doors where possible. If you implement these 5 very well, your house has a very, very good chance of surviving, if not untouched, at the very least only with minor damage. If you'd like to discuss these techniques or any others in a renovation that you're considering, please feel free to get a hold of me through my website by booking a diagnosis session. In addition to these 5 techniques, if you want to take a more active approach to maintaining a healthy situation around your house If you're in the WUI, you might want to look at FireSmart BC or FireSmart Canada. They do have some very simple, very straightforward guides for the homeowner that, in addition to these passive fire protection strategies, will also help you reduce the likelihood of losing your house or even being a contributor to the passage of fire through a suburb.